am I? Welcome back to Resident Drinker. Today I'm going to tell you 5 things you need to know about gin. So let's start with number 1. What is gin made from? Well, gin starts its life as a neutral grain spirit. So that means that the alcohol is actually derived from grains. So that could be corn, barley or rye. And that is fermented to produce alcohol. And as the name suggests, it's neutral. So there's no colour, no flavour. So therefore, it's the perfect canvas to make gin from, either by re-distilling it with the juniper or adding the juniper flavour. So this leads us on nicely to what is a London dry gin. Now you may think it just refers to where the gin is made, but in fact it has no geographical reference to the gin. The gin could be made anywhere. It actually refers to the production method of the gin, and there's some very specific rules on how you produce a London dry gin. So first off, that neutral grain spirit has to be of a higher quality to start with before you do anything. So they take that spirit and re-distill it using juniper and all the other botanicals that they want to use. Now, these have to be present in the redistillation process, and they have to be natural. So that means that they actually have to use all natural ingredients to produce the gin. They can't use any additional flavourings, colourings or sweeteners in the gin. The only other ingredient that can be added is water. So it's quite a traditional method of gin production because they also have to use a traditional still to produce it. And it's quite laborious as well. So you will find sometimes that London dry gins do tend to be a little bit more expensive just due to the whole method of production. And this leads us to number 3. So if we've got London dry, then clearly there's some other styles of gin. What are they? Well, you've got gin, you've got distilled gin. So if we kick off with gin, what is that? Well, you're taking that neutral grain spirit again, but this time you don't have to re-distill it. All you have to do is add that juniper flavour to it. Now this could mean that you take the juniper berries and you introduce that flavour through just steeping the juniper berries in the spirit, or you add flavourings. Now the rules around this are quite stretchable, I would say, as you can use nature identical flavours. So that gives a wide scope for a lot of different flavours that you can put into gin, but also it leads to creativity because you can try different things and see what works. And it certainly has. We've seen lots of gins come on the market that have some really interesting flavours. So next we've got distilled gin. Well, the clue is in the name. You actually have to re-distill the gin with the juniper present and all the other botanicals, just like you did with the London dry, except this time you can also use nature identical flavours. So you could bring in some essences and oils of other botanicals that you want to add into the gin. So we've covered London dry, distilled gin and gin. Well, let's go on to point 4, which is what's navel strength. Now this sounds quite intriguing, and this story is shared amongst some other spirits, which you may have heard previously or not, but we'll come on to those maybe a bit later. But the story surrounding gin involves Lord Nelson, and he decreed that gin should be carried upon all British naval fleets. And what that meant was that the gin was stored below decks with the gunpowder and the cannons. Now, you're at sea, so things don't necessarily stay upright, and sometimes the gin would spill and wet the gunpowder. Now, this could cause slight problems when you're in the middle of a battle at sea and you need to fire some cannons. So they came up with an ingenious idea that the alcohol strength needed to be increased in the gin in order to prevent this from happening. And the easiest way to test this was to take the barrel of gin, pour a little bit on the gunpowder and light it. Now if the gunpowder lit, then it was naval strength. And clearly if it didn't pass and it wasn't naval strength, and it wouldn't be put on board the ship. And now you have been given a lovely tidbit of trivia that you could trot out at the pub or the next time it comes up on a quiz night. So I hope that I have intrigued you with my 4 things, but that leaves us with number 5. Now, what could that be? Well, I'm going to be controversial. You can drink gin without tonic. Now, what does this mean? Cocktails, yeah. Who doesn't love a cocktail or two? But making it at home can be slightly off-putting because you sort of think, oh God, I'm going to need all these different ingredients to just make a couple of drinks. Well, put it this way, start thinking about it just like how, you've got certain meals that you're always going to make at home. And in your store cupboard, you kind of always have the ingredients that you need for those meals. You may need to buy a few things here and there. Now, if you get a few staples for your cocktails, you can make quite a few different ones at home. And I've put together a few cocktails that I think are quite quite easy to make at home, pretty simple, don't need too many ingredients. So rather than me whittle on about how to make them, I've put everything in the description bar below, so if you just click and open the link, you'll see everything that you need. And I hope that you will share some of your creations with me if you give them a go. You can tag me on Instagram, I'm @ResidentDrinker. You can tweet me at Twitter, all through the interwebs @ResidentDrinker. I would love to see some of your creations. So till next time, cheers.